Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Reborn Football podcast. I'm Fuego and I'm here with
Tons.
yeah, it's been a while since our last episode, about a month or so. Obviously there's been kind of personal things and schedule trying to meet up and do an episode, but we're back again. So for those who are new here, we normally talk about football and faith on this podcast. So we would start with a verse of the episode or a story from the Bible at the beginning of the episode, and then we'd go into a football portion where we talk about things that have been going on in the football world over the past while. So, with that being said, we're gonna head into the verse of the episode portion, which is a little bit different today, but I'll let Tans take it away on that.
Yeah, so today it's not a particular verse of the episode, it's more a story of the episode or lesson of the episode, whatever you want to call it, a little anecdote from the Bible. So, um, after obviously the first king of Israel, Saul was Saul,
Yes.
and then after it was David. But then from David is when it actually becomes like David's line, because Saul and David, that's two different things, two
Yeah,
different
two different
lines.
families. Yeah.
So from David it becomes David's line. So you have David and then Solomon, and then we were looking up Solomon's son a few, like 30 20 minutes ago,
Yeah.
and that's Rehoboam. But the point being is that the point that I'm trying to make from this story is that with all the different kings that Israel, the complete Israel had, and then Israel and Judah when they split up, all the different kings that they had, some were good, some were bad, and these were from the same family. These were sons. This was David was, is considered the greatest king, and then Solomon is considered a not so great king, but that's father and son. That's the same lineage. So the whole point being that I heard it from a very good, podcast that I'm listening to recently. The point being that God doesn't have any grandchildren. You don't say here in the Bible God's grandchildren, God's great grandchildren. It's only God's children. Whether you are a grandparent yourself or you are a newborn baby, we're all God's children. So the point of that is that everybody has to take their own step towards believing in God, towards, improving our faith, towards choosing God in words and in actions. Just because my parents are Christians, just because, your auntie or whoever is Christian, doesn't mean that you are a Christian. Yes, okay, your parents took you to church. Maybe sometimes you wanted to go, sometimes you didn't want to go. Your parents took you to church, and your parents made you get, um, took you for christening when you literally, like, you couldn't say no, could you? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But you actually, after a point, that's not enough. Once you're old enough and you're conscious, you actually have to make that choice for yourself, because all that, like, yeah, your parents should set in the foundation for you, but that won't carry you into a true relationship with God. You actually have to find that relationship for yourself. This is an advice that kind of everyone within the dynamic can take. Us, as us, maybe, if you're closer to our age, it's really time for us to take our own step in our faith. But you know even in parenthood as well, you know if you don't really try your best to set in that foundation, then you might be the greatest Christian in the world, but your child may not follow you in that path. And we're actually thinking of a verse that could suit this before we started, and one actually just came to mind. Train up a child in the way they should go, and when they grow, they will not depart from it. I'm sure we have all heard that one from our parents many times.
Yeah.
So, it's just the point. The whole point is that everybody has their own individual journey with God. It doesn't travel through generations. I have to make my own decision to follow God. If I have kids, they have to make their own decision to follow God, and their kids have to make their own decision to follow God. Same way that our parents had to make that decision. So it's really important to make that decision for yourself. To believe in God and do everything that you can to grow closer to Him.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think the two biggest things that I kind of gained from us speaking about this and talking about this is, one, we need to have a personal relationship with God. So everybody needs to have their own relationship with God. You are not a Christian by proxy that, as you said, my mom and dad took me to church when I was little, or they still take me to church, or I still go with them, that doesn't make one a Christian. That doesn't make one a follower of Christ or a believer in Jesus. That we need to have that personal connection with Him. That, of course, we don't neglect kind of going to church or having a family altar, praying with your parents, with your siblings, and stuff like that. We don't neglect that. But we also need to make sure we don't neglect kind of the personal, where it's just you and God, where it's just you and your word, or where it's just you in worship, that type of thing. So that's the first thing that I see. And then the second thing that I see, this is for parents, and then for obviously those who will become parents at some point in the future, that it's very important to instill that, you know, that reverence for God in your home, so that your children see it and they're like, okay, I see mom and dad are doing this, and the idea is, look, you're a true follower of Christ, things are going to go well for you. So they're going to see evidence based that God is real. I see this in the faith of my parents, and I also want to fully understand and have a personal relationship with this God who is so great, who, my parents literally worship and adore. And they can basically see the evidence from your life in terms of the way you live your life and in terms of the things that happen to you, that God is real, and they want to have that personal relationship with Him. So I think that's something that we can all take away from this.
And just something extra I wanted to add on that as well. This is kind of more, this is advice for, again, parents and those of us who plan to be parents in the future, you know, and even not even just parenthood, but just in general as well. It's that your actions have to reflect, you have to choose God, not just with your words. That is very important as well, but you have to choose God with your actions as well. So part of instilling reverence in your home, or even not just in your home as a parent, but anywhere where you want to be a leader and kind of help to bring people to Christ, you have to, it's not just setting rules and trying to bring people to church. It's also in your actions, how you act every single day, so that by God's grace they will not depart from what you have taught them when when they get older. And actually, even though David was, obviously the greatest king, he was still human, and he made a lot of mistakes that ended up carrying over to his children. For example, lust over Bathsheba, that in a way carried over to Solomon with his 700 wives, 700 concubines, whatever it is. And then there were, for example, the situation where one of David's sons was like abused a daughter.
Yeah,
It's not Tamar,
well,
Amnon and Tamar.
one of his sons
Yeah.
abused one of his daughters.
Yeah, and I know there was different wives, so like that was the one that abused the brother that abused the sister. I think they were like half or maybe step siblings, but the actual blood brother of that sister, Absalom, ended up killing Amnon, and then Absalom ended up rebelling against David. But this was because David did nothing when this happened. He didn't take any disciplinary action against Amnon, which it's not, for example, in Christianity, it's not for us to be not do anything. We're supposed to work for justice when it happens as well. So that was him not setting a good example, and it ended up backfiring on him later in life. So it's not just words, but it's also actions as well.
No, I agree with that as well. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I think we'll move into the football portion today, and obviously we're still in the summer. The Club World Cup is just concluded. We'll speak about that a little bit later, but I think one thing that we can definitely have a look at first is probably transfers. There's obviously been a lot of movement over the past month and a half since the season ended and the transfer window opened. So
Yeah, I mean, there's been obviously City about a couple of players, Liverpool, Chelsea, and I mean Arsenal are finally starting to make some movement. So I think I'll talk about Arsenal a little bit. I say I'm repping my jersey today, but it seems like we're finally about to get that striker that we've been crying for about 3 years, pretty much since Aubameyang left. Obviously Jesus had his time for a little while, but he's never really been able to stay fully fit at Arsenal. And it's a lot of debate over Gyökeres. Obviously the pure numbers are utterly ridiculous, and he scored, I think I was reading the stats today. Apparently, he scored over 60 goals in all competitions last season. I think that's for club and country.
Yeah.
And I think he scored like, was it 39 goals in the Portuguese league or something like that this season? I'd have to proper check on the stats for that one. But either way, a ridiculous amount of goals. And he finishes. If you look at his tapes, he finishes with such venom, such ferocity. The kind of the conviction that you would expect a striker to have. So I mean, I'm excited for the possibility of him joining Arsenal. Obviously, there's a little bit of what's the word? Apprehension from both Arsenal and non-Arsenal fans because he kind of looks a little bit maybe clunky. That's the word. Maybe he might not have the greatest link-up play and all that. But to be honest, as an Arsenal fan, I'm tired of link-up play. I want goals. You know.
That's fair. That is fair. That's fair. No, I think even as you say that last point in terms of maybe a lack of link up play, I would almost say that's something that Haaland kind of lacked when he first came to England. But I believe, world class strikers as Gyökeres is, will pick that type of thing up because we've seen that Haaland has picked it up a bit more, especially over the last season as well. So I have no doubts that I hope that the deal gets done because I think it will make the league very interesting just in general, seeing how he fits in with Arsenal and how Arsenal do having a proper number nine, which they haven't had for a number of years or consistently for a number of years. But yeah, no, we'll see how that goes. I think another one that was quite interesting was it wasn't until I think late last week that I realized that Arsenal were in talks with Chelsea over
Madueke.
Madueke. So that was interesting because apparently the like personal terms had been
Long
concluded
agreed, yeah.
before the Club World Cup had even started. So I found it interesting, and then I was also seeing a lot of things over the past week. Obviously, that deal, I think Fabriz
Fabrizio Romano.
had given the here we go late last week before the Club World Cup final. Interestingly enough, but I think I've seen a little bit of within the Arsenal camp in terms of Arsenal supporters kind of being a bit,
Yeah, no.
not too sure about this transfer.
I think not too sure is putting it lightly, but yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
but me personally, like I'm not, I won't pretend that I've been overjoyed with the signing. You know, for me, my main thing is that do we get all, do we still bring in, for example, Eberechi Eze or Rodrigo? Do we still bring in those guys? With having now, splashed 50 million on Madueke, that's my point. I personally think that there's a player in there, Madueke. There's some talent there, but you know, I feel like that wasn't really a priority. Like that's something that maybe if we got everything done and then Madueke a little surprise deal on deadline day, then maybe it would have been received a little bit better. But I don't agree with the level of abuse that he's gotten from Arsenal fans. When a player is coming, a player that clearly wants to come and come try and fight for his place, you have to try support him, even if you don't agree with maybe the manager or whatever. But yeah, man, I feel like there's potential for him to definitely improve, but I feel it's just about where do our priorities lay in terms of our targets.
I'm not sure if we had spoken about all of the quick deals that Liverpool had done at the beginning of the transfer window. I think we have kind of touched on it briefly. Obviously, the Flo Wirtz deal has gone through now, so that's something that's confirmed. And then kind of looking maybe a little bit at City before we kind of look into the Club World Cup, because I know there were three signings that City really wanted to get done before the beginning of the Club World Cup, and I think on the last day of that transfer window, they got the Ryan Cherky
Yeah.
signing done. I think that was probably the most exciting of the three of them that I was looking at. Not technically there were four, but we kind of don't count third goalkeepers as signings like that. Although I'm pretty sure he came for a fee. I can't remember. I think it's Bettinelli from Chelsea. I'm pretty sure he came for a fee, but I don't remember how much it was. Obviously, Tijani Reinders came from AC Milan.
Fun fact: Tijani Reinders is named after a Nigerian footballer.
That is true.
Yeah, an old Nigerian footballer.
Which I find hilarious because
that is
it's like
so random.
how does that happen? Like I'm not sure. I'm not sure where his parents are from, if they're originally from the Netherlands or not. Um, Sorry, one second. Yeah, I'm not sure if his parents are originally from the Netherlands or not. But it's a very crazy thing to think that he's named after a Nigerian footballer of all places, of all players, that he's named after somebody like that. But yeah, very very solid midfielder. From his debut, I could tell already. At the Club World Cup, that is. Then obviously Ryan Agnuri from Wolves.
Yeah,
I
that's a
think
good buy.
it's a very good signing. It's for good money considering we've kind of had those problems in
How
the.
much was it again?
I'm pretty sure it was something around like 25 ish
Oh,
mil.
I think that's good value, and he's very talented.
He's very 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 good. I like, even in an attacking sense as well. He's very 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 good. So I'm interested to see how the overlapping on the left is gonna look this season, because he's looked really really sharp. And then obviously Ryan Cherky is Ryan Cherky at the end of the day. Didn't have a very flashy debut, but he scored a pretty good goal on his second game of the Club World Cup.
Oh yeah.
And he's just been like, we've seen his clips and all of that. So he's one of those players that you feel as though, okay, he does this, he does that. It looks like he's clip farming, but what he's doing is effective. Like, he's not doing a skill for the sake of doing it, but it looks so elegant. And then you'd expect later on in the day you're gonna see some sort of edit or a clip on Instagram or on TikTok, of whatever he just did. One thing that was quite interesting to see was I don't know if I would call it tension. It looked like tension on the pitch between Foden and Turkey.
I've been seeing
It
the
was
clips.
very
I've been seeing the clips of them like muscling for each other in what's it called, in like the warm ups. Doing their best skills for each
no.
other.
So that there, I think I've seen online people saying, "Oh, Foden's looking like he's trying so hard and all of this stuff." Foden looked like he was refusing to pass to Turkey in that first game that they played together, even though he's the one that he scored a goal like 2 minutes into the game. Foden, and got an assist near the end of the first half in that game. That was the first group game that City played. I'm trying to remember who we played. I can't remember, but in the Club World Cup. And obviously, it's a big year for Foden in particular, because he hasn't had this is probably one of his worst seasons, if not his worst season, since breaking into the City first team. I know he kind of talked briefly about a few off the pitch things that he was dealing with, but it's a big year, and it's a big year for a lot of players, particularly in that England team, because he needs to try and get himself back into that England squad for the World Cup next year.
Yeah.
I think he's the type of player that has obviously the ability and has the mental strength to do it, but he also needs to
Perform.
perform, but he also needs to make sure that he's performing in all aspects. So it's not like I'm keeping the ball, I'm not passing to this person, because I feel like if I pass to this person, they're gonna do something. It's gonna lead to a goal. It's gonna be seen by the coach as effective, and so therefore that person is gonna get the praise, and I lose my place type of thing. So it almost looks like he feels threatened by Turkey, but I think the two of them work well. Like, they work really well together, and we saw that kind of later on in the Club World Cup. They were linking up really, really, really well. So I think that's a short-lived problem, if it was a problem at all. But apparently, I heard Foden has been like that even when Haaland first came and all of that stuff. But sure, look. So you have done some good business so far. I've been hearing some things like what's his name, Nico Gonzalez, who was brought in kind of as a Rodri replacement. Now that Rodri is fit, it's kind of like, so you have just loads of midfielders. What do you now want to do with it? And then obviously, City also have loads of defenders as well. They signed 3 centre backs in January, and it's looking like a lot of people are looking at it and being like, okay, someone like Krishanov, the Uzbekistan national, obviously Uzbekistan made it to have qualified for the World Cup for the first time, so that's a big thing for him and his country. But people like him,
Uzbekistan.
yeah, they have,
They qualified for
yeah,
World Cup?
they did. It's very, very, very interesting. But
we haven't even qualified yet. Like, we're begging for South Africa three deducted points. That's not even, it's not even confirmed yet.
I don't know. I haven't been looking at that.
Anyway, congrats to him, man.
Yeah, no, it's a big. I think it's a very, very big thing for Uzbekistan as a country.
Yeah,
as well.
that's serious.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, fair play, man.
So you've got him. You've got Victor Reis. He was brought in from, I'm not sure if it was Palmeiras. It might have been, but he's an 18-year-old centre back who I think is quite good, very good for his age, anyways.
Thanks for making me aware of that.
Sorry
Yeah,
about
I
that.
did,
Yeah, no, because funny enough, I believe he has only played one game for City, and it was an FA Cup match in which he came off injured. Which I'm not too sure what Pep's plan is for that.
18 years old.
Yeah, like Kushnov is 20.
No, yeah, but yeah. To be fair, like,
But I'm not too sure what Pep's plan is for him. I'm hearing that they don't want him to go out on loan. They don't want to sell him. Cool, whatever. But it's like, okay, when do you want to play him? You've got so many fit centre backs, like almost everybody's fit now. And you think of people like Nathan Ake, who hasn't played in a while. You think of people like John Stones, who's barely ever fit. That when these people are now fit and everybody's fighting for their place, there's like 6 or 7 players who can play in those two bits in two centre back roles. And then he now has options of left back. He can play Rico Lewis there. He can play. Sorry, not Rico Lewis. Nico O'Reilly. Nico O'Reilly can play there. Ryan Agnuri can play there. Right back, he's got Mateus Nunes. He's got Rico Lewis. They're still looking to bring in a right back, even on top of all that.
Yeah, Mateus Nunes as an option. I say they will be looking to bring in a right back.
I hear what you're saying, right? But funny enough, this season has actually been his most prolific season as a City player.
Not a high bar, but okay.
No, I know I get what you're saying, but when I'm looking at it, considering the fact that he was getting obviously limited minutes the season before that, in his position, and then he's now being brought back into a different position, I think he's relishing in the moment, which I think is very good for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, having a traditional right back is still something that Pep would prefer.
And then obviously for you guys, Kyle Walker's very, very quick decline as well. To be honest, it's been coming. It's not as shocking as it's being made out to be. Like, he's been on the decline for the past couple of years. He made the PFA Team of the Year in 23-24, and that was a purely reputation based Team of the Year. He did not do anything to make it anywhere close to that team. So it's been coming for a little while. Obviously in his peak, by consistently the best right back, or at least arguably the best right back in the league. And I mean, yeah, just the way he declined so quickly. What was that one game that was Tottenham, when you guys lost 4-0 at Tottenham? Yeah, that was a really tough day out at the office for him. But yeah, I mean, it's looking like a lot of teams could really be in with a shot of competing. Obviously Liverpool, who are today being linked to Isak. Yeah. And then obviously us, you'd hope that we'd be able to try and compete again. Well, I'd hope. I don't know if you would hope.
Oh, I don't mind. As long as I win the league, I don't mind.
And then you guys, and then I mean, the people are saying Chelsea. Chelsea, I still need to see to believe, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
See, my thing here is that obviously we've kind of had this period in which Chelsea just buy loads of players. They have a full squad. They're very, very, very good quality players who are not getting game time because their squad is way too big. But it seems as though they're now finding their rhythm, and it's kind of very difficult to ignore them now. Like, you look at their starting 11, even for that Club World Cup final that happened on Sunday just past, I can't say I see many like world-class players. Like, you have very, very good individuals. You have people like Pedro Neto. Enzo Fernandez has been very good. Moise Caicedo is very, very has been very, very consistent this season for Chelsea as well.
Obviously, João Pedro impact.
That's another thing that we do need to talk about. But then I'm also looking at their back four, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't see like a great team like that. But there's like, they've managed to get to the Club World Cup final win. They won the Conference League, and you can't really. And they made Champions League as well.
Yeah,
I mean, can't really count them out anymore.
One thing about Chelsea is they will score goals. They will definitely score goals. As you said, though, that defense, they might. I mean, Chelsea, they'll probably still, got a good bit of cash now from this. They might probably go out and buy maybe 1 or 2 more defense. If I was Chelsea, I'd be looking at Guehi. That would be that's an academy player as well. I'm sure he'd love to go back.
That is true.
I'm sure he'd love to go back. I'm sure that would be a really good buy for them. But then again, they do, in terms of the left centre back position, they do already have what's his name, Cole. So, but I don't know, man. But I mean, it's definitely there, for Chelsea to push on. and we'll just have to see. Just have to see how it goes.
Yeah.
Um, one team I'm a little bit concerned for is Forest. Lost Elanga.
Yeah, that's a big loss for them.
Looks like they're about to lose Gibbs White as well. So I don't know, a bit worried for them. Um, and then even Brentford as well, losing their manager. Wissa linked with a move away. Who else?
Mbuemo, yeah,
Mbuemo linked with a move away.
yeah.
I guess we'll have to see. We really have to see. But yeah, I mean, the transfer window has definitely, been quite lively over the past few weeks. Nothing too much outside the Premier League in terms of like blockbuster.
Yeah.
I mean, Bayern. Unless I'm missing anything, Bayern did make a bid for Diaz today, but
Okay.
Bayern haven't done anything major. Real Madrid haven't done. Well, Real Madrid got Trent, but like that was kind of coming. Like, it's not really new. Barcelona, they were linked with Nico Williams for a while, but obviously he went and signed his 10-year contract with.
Very.
I don't know who advises these players. Some of the decisions they make. Like for example, just slightly bringing it back to Arsenal. Apparently, there was a Benjamin Sesko, who was kind of like the other guy we were looking at with Gyökeres.
Yeah.
Apparently, last year there was like, the dumb word of the year, gentleman's agreement, to sell him for a certain price, and then surprise, when it actually comes down to it, the club doesn't honor that gentleman's agreement. I mean, if it isn't in writing, like what can you do really? So like I don't know who advises some of these players to like agree to these sort of things.
I think it's probably the agent more than anybody, because I think the agent probably has the most to gain when it comes to those type of, like, I can imagine Nico Williams's new deal comes with a substantial re-signing bonus, and obviously the agent gets a huge cut of, like, it might sound like, I don't know how much they can get, maybe like 10 to 20%, but like even if it's like 10% or 5%, when you think about it, like, say for example his signing bonus is like 20 mil. It might not be 20 mil, but let's just say for argument's sake, like that is still a lot of money putting into an agent's pocket, and they probably are not living as lavishly as a footballer, because they maybe get, let's say, 1 to 3 million in fees and stuff like that maybe every year, but like 1 to 3 million fees every year, as like that's your take home pay for a year, is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can even be an agent being greedy, and that can really, really, cannot be the best for a player's career. I'd be interested to hear what the actual reasons behind that Nico Williams, Athletic Bilbao stuff.
And obviously a big thing with, I'm pretty sure Nico Williams is like, with a player like Nico Williams, you'd expect him not to be earning too much yet, but I'm pretty sure he was already earning like close to 200,000 a week, and then obviously he's a player, because Athletic Bilbao have their what's the word, their like rule of only buying players from the Basque region, or that grew up in the Basque region, and he's a homegrown. So like obviously like they will do everything to keep, and I mean I'm hearing that the release clause was only like 50-60. I think, but I mean that's probably like a double now, I'd say.
Yeah, no, it would have to be. No, actually, no, it'd be more than double if it's a 10-year contract, because they wouldn't want someone to buy him out next year.
Yeah, true. Actually, yeah, people can't actually just drop 120 these days. So probably be like 200 million,
But at least it's not like Barcelona, who were renewing people's contracts, 18, 19, 20 years, and putting 1 billion on their heads.
And then
That's a bit strange.
Neymar PTSD. That's literally what it was, because like at the time, like it's actually how much football has progressed. At the time, it was 198 million pounds, I think, that release clause for Neymar. At that time, it was like,
No one's gonna pay that.
You drop that there just for the jokes, just for the laughs. Like it's basically that's basically saying you're never leaving. And then PSG actually went and dropped that. One day we got to talk about like the consequences of that PSG Neymar deal. I don't think any one transfer in the entire history of football has ever so drastically and quickly changed how fees go.
No, it's true.
Ridiculous, man.
It's true. Speaking on Barcelona as well, I know there's kind of been talk probably since January of, Marcus Rashford wants Barcelona. Barcelona want Marcus Rashford. I'm not really seeing much movement being done there. Obviously, they were looking for Luis Diaz, and that didn't pan out. But Rashford may still end up at Barcelona by the end of this transfer window. Obviously, I mean, Yamal just turned 18 as well, so I can imagine he's maybe signed a new contract or something like that. Money is coming for that
Soon
guy.
enough, anyway.
Money is coming for that guy now.
Yeah.
And then obviously him taking the number 10 this season as Ansu Fati goes on loan to Monaco. And obviously with Monaco, you also have the
Pogba.
return of Paul Pogba, which would be interesting to see. I think people will be locking into Monaco over the next while, anyways, to see how he does. It's an outside chance, but I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a return to that French national team at least. Now that he's still kind of in this period where I don't think he's outside of his prime, but it's kind of before the age where players of his position would typically end up going into kind of.
I don't even think it's an outside chance, to be honest, because like Pogba is one of them guys. Like he's still one of them guys in France. Let him have a month of decent form. I'm sure he'll be back in that French team.
Fair enough. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, though. No, it'll be interesting to see. There's one other thing I was gonna say. I can't even remember now. But
He's even back home as well. That's another point.
Okay, that's true.
He's played
That's
in
true.
France,
Yeah, that
so
is
that
true.
would be easy access for him to like just put a few weeks of good form together and be back in the side.
I think okay. Now I remember what I did want to say. Club World Cup. I can't remember, it was semi-final or quarter-final. PSG played Bayern Munich, and Jamal Musiala suffered a really, really, really
Oh yeah.
nasty injury.
Oh, I seen that. Oh yeah.
I didn't really understand it because I was watching it live. I didn't really understand what was going on until after the game when I was seeing the pictures, and it's like it looks painful. It's very unfortunate because he's just coming back from being out for a couple of months, and he's now going to be out for a couple more months.
Yeah.
Not as long as last time, but you can imagine that. Okay,
Wait, no, it will be even longer. No, he broke his ankle.
no, I think they said something like 2 to 3 months. Obviously, this is going to be until he's fully healed. Not that he's fully match fit. He's now going to need to go through his rehab and all of that stuff. So it's likely we're not going to see him again until the end of the year.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and obviously he's a bright young talent. Also, to take up the number 10 jersey at Bayern this season, because of all places to move to, Leroy Sané has decided to move to Galatasaray, which I wouldn't necessarily say it's a fall off type of thing, because if you think about it, Victor Osimhen said he only was Galatasaray.
I mean that's Osimhen's different though. Like Osimhen is still in his prime. The reason why Osimhen went to Galatasaray is because kind of his off the field kind of antics and wage demands and those sort of things. There, I'm sure you guys seen the tweets of P Square talking about how him and Mikel Obi and they were trying to get Chelsea to buy Osimhen last summer, just utter nonsense. So that was more like off the field, but like Sane is a bit more like on the field. Like okay, like which top team's actually gonna like buy Sane plus the likely wage demands.
No, okay, that is true. That is true. Like I still see a little bit of a spark in him, but like it's almost as though decision making is gone.
In injury cooked him, man. He has not been the same since that injury. It's a real shame. Like that you guys' 2017 to 2019 team is one of my favorite teams I've ever watched, man. Sane, Sterling, Aguero, all of their prime. Jesus off the bench. Aguero, like, bro, it was ridiculous.
I think I also saw yesterday that yesterday's this day 10 years ago, City signed Sterling.
Okay.
Which is actually very crazy to think about, because one, he's old now.
Yeah,
like,
Sterling's actually, yeah.
He's in his 30s now, and he's probably one of the best wingers in
Premier League history.
Premier League history. If we want to look, we actually have to look at it that way, because like things he was doing at Liverpool at his age was
and City as well. 100 club as well.
Yeah, exactly. But another thing, it'd be interesting to see what happens with his career now. Obviously, with his loan spell being done at Arsenal, and he's not really in Chelsea's plans anymore.
Yeah, man, I can't lie. I don't see it going too much further. I'm obviously, like, it's easy to say that, Sterling, but like honestly, it's only really at Arsenal that the physical decline really was evident for Sterling. Like even a year ago at Chelsea, it was more his decision making and like for example, that's free kick against Leicester and all that. He still looked really sharp and like as lively as Sterling has always looked. It was this year where the physical decline really set in, and I'm quite worried because obviously he started his career quite young, and those guys that start their career quite young, the decline comes out of nowhere, and you think it shouldn't come, but then you actually think, okay, they started playing high level at this age. It actually kind of makes sense.
But then I think another thing there also, we'll probably end up talking about this at some later stage as well, is kind of he's gone from being very much involved in the squad, almost a guaranteed starter at City, up until the point that he ended up leaving, and still playing a high volume of games at Chelsea, to being on loan at Arsenal and not playing a high volume of games. So you're wondering, okay, what's going on with his, his fitness, his training, and all of that stuff, because it's not going to be the same if you're playing like 50% less games than you were last season, type of thing. And that can only tell on the body, especially at his age, as you said, having started playing at a high level at a very young age. Players who tend to kind of just keep going will probably experience decline later in their career, or maybe it will tell on their bodies after they've retired, type of thing. But players like him who are in a situation now where I'm playing a lot less games than I've been used to for majority of my career, and I'm now getting into, you know, almost 15 years plus of a career, it's, the decline, as you said, will come a lot quicker. So, you know,
I think we can wrap it up for today.
yeah, no, it's been a good episode. Good to talk about all the transfers and other things that have been going on. I think we forgot to talk about João Pedro, but we'll do that. We'll do that in the next episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much if you got this far. Thank you so much for watching, for supporting us. The links to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you want to listen to it. The links will be in the description or the caption of whatever you're listening or watching from. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave comments. We're happy to have conversations in the comment section. And yeah, I'll give it over to Tans to just take us out.
Yeah, just to reiterate, thank you for the support, especially if you made it this far. All our important links, all our essential links will be in the description of whatever platform you're watching this in. Thank you once again for the support, and see you in the next episode. Peace.